Can you do me a favor and check on YouTube and make sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing?
So there's no audio feedback.
That's fine. So this is a little bit different. If this is actually streaming, my son, who briefly appeared on camera there, has set me up to have this whole thing happening in the kitchen today. Alright, he says that I am going out there, so hopefully y'all will find me since I didn't put links in any place. But I had too much to do this weekend, and I decided that what I would do is talk to you guys while I'm prepping food, because that's what I do when I have guests over, is I am in the kitchen. And this is a tiny kitchen, so hi koala. This is a tiny kitchen, so it's not like I could have guests in the kitchen anyway, but the laptop sits nicely on the pass-through, and my son has it set up with this really spiffy thing so that all I have to do is toggle a bar, and now you can actually see where I'm going to be prepping food as he's banging around behind me, and you might actually get to see. So hi Ben, hi Doug. Yep, that's the boy. And he's taking his Jaffa cakes. I got him a treat earlier, so he really likes the orange Jaffa cakes. Although I think we are planning on trying the raspberry at some point. Which kind of segues into, I figured I would talk about food while I was making food. I am cooking off and on for the North Texas Troublemakers. We do a round robin of cooking. I think there's 5 or 6 of us that take turns cooking. And hi, Stephen. I'm glad that I don't have to compete with The Witcher. Nowhere near that kind of screen presence. So I get to cook every about 5 weeks for the gang, which is a delight because I really love cooking. And I am not going to have time to brine it, Stephen. This thing has to be cooked tomorrow. We're going up early so that we can cook it at a friend's house. And hi, Joshua. And so what I'm going to do tonight is I'm prepping for apfel strudel, which I've never made before. And I'm also prepping a stuffed pork loin, which was interesting because as we hit the grocery today, I was expecting to be able to come up with a full pork loin. They're one of those things that we buy routinely here, and then we cut them down into pork chops and a couple of pork roasts, and we'll do pork roast and pulled pork and of course pork chops out of all of that. And today Johan and Sanford helped me out with a thing, which we'll come back to, and I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. But once they had done that, I asked them if they could swing by the grocery store and pick up a pork loin for me. And I get this call because I'm at work. And if you hear a strange noise in the background, that's the dog, because I'm in her place. Uh-oh, I hope I haven't pissed off your NSA supervisor, Koala. So, long story short, there were no pork loins, no full pork loins available at our usual grocery store. So after work, I hit a couple of other grocery stores that we don't usually go to. No whole pork loins available right now, just no place. No store brand pork, at least pork loins available. So I briefly contemplated buying a pork butt, the cushion pack ones, and dissecting that to do a pork roulade with, and I decided that I really didn't want to do that, so I didn't. But, and while I'm standing here talking to y'all, I'm going to grab apple peeler and whatnot and start peeling apples, because I have been thinking that in order to do apfel strudel in puff pastry, I need to not have wet apples. So in other words, I don't want I don't want uncooked apples. I don't want uncooked apples in puff pastry, which is what I've got. Stephen, I don't mind you at all. I would prefer to do brining for the pork. That is absolutely the best way to do. I would prefer to smoke the pork. neither of those are options today, so I'm gonna roll with what I've got. Hang on just a second. My lighting manager would like to speak to me.
There's a lot of pork shoulder and a lot of cut pieces.
Yes. My son is telling me that at the grocery there was a lot of pork shoulders, which would work, but would be a lot of butchering, and I didn't have time. Sometimes I just have to make compromises about what I have time to do and what I don't. Well, I suppose I could butterfly it, brine it tonight, and then stuff it in the morning. I couldn't show you guys my stuffing technique, but I'm sure y'all don't mind that. I'm peeling apples and I'm thinking about an old story, and I want to say this might come from having read Laura Ingalls Wilder, and I'm talking about getting an apple peel off in one piece. So the idea was to get the apple peel off without breaking it off of an apple, and which is one of those things that I can routinely do because I have just done that. But if I think about it, they were doing this with paring knives instead of my little gadget, and it's a lot more complicated to do it that way. Anyhow, the legend went, and I'm not going to do it because A, it's a mess, and B, I already have, but the legend went that if you got an apple peel off all in one piece without breaking it, and then you threw it over your shoulder, it would land in the shape of the initial of your husband, which I find ironic because I'm telling you this, and my husband has come up behind me to be blinded by my lighting manager, bringing all the lights in the living area over to bear so that I don't have a shiny forehead. Thank you, Johan. Well, my knife skills need work too, which is why I use a gadget for peeling. But the idea that I'm thinking is that I didn't want to put raw apples into an apfel strudel. They tend to, especially Granny Smith, they tend to not collapse very much while they're baking. Yes, I'll bet the apple peel would land on an S. If I had thrown it backwards right at that moment, it would have landed on an S. So
that's single letter S, not ASS. Okay. Yes, it would have worked either way, but...
And the squirrels have gotten into my apple peels. Oh no. His favorite apple are Granny Smith. I don't like them for eating apples, but he does, and so does my son, so I'm outvoted. They are, however, superior baking apples. And what I plan to do, as I keep getting distracted, this would make an entertaining cooking show, wouldn't it? What I plan to do is actually fry the apples. So I've got a cast iron skillet prepped over here. I'm going to peel apples and cook them up with butter and brown sugar and spices. And then that, which has most of the moisture cooked out of it and it's cooked down, is what I will use to stuff the apfel strudel. And again, like I said, the reason that we did this, which is kind of fun actually, to be talking to y'all while my lighting manager messes with my thing. So, laser pointers for your gaming buddies. Ben, do you game with cats? So, I'm gonna peel apples for a while because I have like 8 or 9. These Granny Smith are the smallest little Granny Smiths. I don't remember where we got these, but they're little guys. I didn't get that peel off all at one. Koala, do you have a baby helping you type there? I see that. Big maps. So, yes, you did have a baby helping you type. Hi, Aaron. Little man's so cute. I got to see a picture of him earlier sleeping. He's adorable. I don't know why I'm being handed cream. Cream is not on the menu for at least tonight's prep. So, the thing about food anthropology and what I started doing inadvertently, when I started cooking for the gang, the first thing I did was like a 12-pound lasagna. It is the biggest lasagna I'd ever made, but I was prepping it in a disposable roasting pan, one of the big aluminum ones, and I just kept going until I had it full. And then I was curious, so I set it on the scale, and I succeeded in making a 12-pound lasagna. So that was kind of fun. But then the second time I cooked for everybody, my son got involved, and he... babies need to do things before they can sleep contentedly. The second thing we cooked for the gang was because my son got involved, we made Japanese. So I wound up making katsudon and sushi for everybody up there, and that was fun. But I had decided that because this particular session is winter and something nice and heavy would be good, is that I would go to Germany. I didn't think that completely through because, well, I had no idea we were going to have a shortage of pork, and I wanted to do pork. I wanted to do spätzle, and usually Aldi has spätzle noodles because I didn't want to home make spätzle noodles. I knew what my week was going to be like, and I'm a masochist, but not that much of one. Your mother uses language like that occasionally. I'm getting ahems in the background because I just horrified somebody. Anyhow, so no homemade pasta. And no spätzle at Aldi. Usually Aldi has a pretty nice selection of German foods, and I haven't bothered to try and find another market around here that has German foods. But Aldi, at least in my neck of the woods, is pretty sparse right now. I'm starting to really see the impact of the food supply chain disruptions in this area, at least at Aldi. And their supply chain is a little different. So no spätzle, so I got a different kind of noodle that's very similar. We'll do that, and I will do a cream and mustard sauce, and that can be served over both the pork and the noodles. Yes, embarrassing one's children is one of those little perks. And I have sauerkraut because German food. And we're going to have Apfelstrudel, and hopefully that will be enough food, because the fun thing about cooking for North Texas troublemakers is we might have 7 people and we might have 14 people. So I will prep as if there's going to be about 12. And and the other thing that I've done up there is Indian food. So I'm cooking my way around the world. We've done Italy, we've done Japan, we've done Indian food, and now we're doing Germany. Hang on just a second. I've got to toss some apple peels.
I can't manage that. Okay. I threw the latency so low. That's why the comments are off.
Evidently my son is telling me that if your comments seem to be lagging, that's because he's got the latency set up.
I think that's what
wrong.
I messed up.
So, patience, bear with me, because I have a heads-up display of comments, but they might not be popping up until after I've already moved on with chit-chat. And I'm going to grab a paring knife. We actually have a knife magnet set up over here, but I'm going to grab one of my husband's favorites, and these things are fun because they're super sharp, the little ceramic knives. And they're fairly inexpensive, and I am going to just get these apples broken down. See, now I've never actually eaten horse meat. I've been told that it's sweet and that you can tell if it's horse meat, but this is not something that I've ever had to deal with. So I don't know. Yeah, well, I mean, so it's distracting because you're talking and you're trying to read, and yeah, it's sure multitasking. A lot of trying to split your focus and attention, especially with what I've done tonight, where I am having to grab stuff, and yeah, that's a chicken fryer, big cast iron skillet, and I am going to toss in some butter, and I might also throw in just a little bit of bacon grease, but that's because it amuses me, not because it's strictly necessary. So, I'm sure if somebody's raised with, and I think it's France where they routinely eat horse, but I'm sure if you're raised with it, you like it. If you're curious, I'm doing about 4 ounces. No, that's 2 ounces of butter. Yeah, what the heck. A whole stick of butter. And my bacon grease container, a little bit of bacon grease. Which is cold enough, it doesn't want to come out. So, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon of bacon grease in there. I try not to set my kitchen on fire. I really do. I actually have regrets because I have an electric range here, and I really miss my gas range. But that will do the trick for now. So, alright. Yeah, gas ranges so much better than electric. But someday, that is kind of one of the criterias when we get to the point where we can house hunt, is that I would like to be able to have a gas range, which probably means that it will have to be plumbed for gas before we buy it. Uh-oh, have I distracted Josh from cooking dinner there, Koala? Giving him an excuse to slack off. My son's starting to move some of my cookbooks around, and I don't know why. I'm a little curious about what's going on back there.
Props.
Well, if you're going to make them into props, you're probably going to have to put them in a different place. They don't really show on the screen.
Not props for background, props for you pick them up and show them off.
Aha. He wants me to show off my cookbook collection. I am not actually using a cookbook for this recipe. I had looked at apple strudel recipes, and I'm not being terribly authentic because I'm not making the strudel part from scratch. And so I'm just going to do basically what I would do for an apple pie filling. I did apple hand pies a while back and fried the apples before baking them, and that was quite successful because it gets some of the water out. You have less wet dough when you're talking about this kind of thing. And in a pie crust, you don't have as much of that. Well, for one thing, at least I put flour in with my apple pie fillings. What did you just walk off with there, kid? Well, Josh, you've got 2 kids and you and the wife. I would say that pound of noodles is probably a good place to start. And then after that, my Red Scientist Barbecue sounds like fun. Go watch them, Steven. But if you have leftover noodles, there's lots of things that you can do with leftover noodles. Of course, I don't know if your kids will eat lo mein, but I have kids that sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. So the fun thing about doing what I've been doing slowly, which is cooking my way around the world once every few weeks, is that it gives me an excuse, like I need one, to take a look at some different food cultures. And well, of course the chickens will eat the leftover noodles, Josh. Chickens will eat anything. I mean, mean, I suppose I could do how to prep chickens in multiple cultures, because that's certainly a thing. My mom was talking the other day, she was watching a video of and this is kind of the fun thing about YouTube, is on YouTube you can get the eccentric author babbling at a couple of fans. Alright, there's more than a couple of you and I appreciate it. Babbling at a couple of fans while she makes dinner, but you can also get on YouTube a young Vietnamese farmer making his house and everything else out of bamboo.
It's not his house.
Alright, my son's correcting me, it's not his house. But the thing that Mom had told me about, and I'm wondering if Mom missed my notifications because she's not in the audience, is that they had showed a video of one of his hens sitting on eggs getting ready to hatch, and the closed captioning said, "That's a flower, a basil flower, if you're seeing something dart through the camera angle." Anyhow, the closed captioning said something to the effect of, "The hen forests are getting ready to spawn." Alright, now I have a basil flower. It smells good, at least. We have a pot of Thai purple basil,
Used to.
and it came in off the patio. We'd had a frost warning, but more to the point, the apartment complex is repainting things and taking their own sweet time about it. So we were supposed to take everything off the balcony, even the stuff I'd intended for it to spend the whole winter out there because it's hardy. And I now have a living room half full of plants.
And the basil was gone.
One country a week alphabetical. Afghanistan actually would probably be fun to do. Flatbreads, goat, barbecued goat. Ooh, I found goat and lamb at a reasonable price near me. The Asian market has it. They also have whole cleaned rabbits. I think it's only like $8 or $9 a pound, which is really inexpensive for that kind of meat. And they also have really good fish, so I am happy with shopping at the Asian market every week or so. It's sometimes interesting because I don't always know what the labels say. But as I was starting to talk about before, it gives me an excuse to study the different countries, what they ate, why they ate these different things, because that affects the dishes that are prepared. It's like Vietnam has such a heavy French influence that Vietnamese pastry is kind of amazing. And one of our local Asian markets is primarily Vietnamese and has a French bakery in the market. It's like a franchise inside the market, not a thing. Anyhow, I have been having fun. That is one of the perks of living in the city, is that I get to shop at all the markets. We have an Indian market. We know where there's a Greek market. We haven't been there yet, but we need to go because the feta cheese that we can get at our local grocery store is bland. I had never had bland feta before, and that was so disappointing. And I want to do something with lamb for the gang one of these days, and that would be a good time to visit Greece, I think. And you know what? I have this little gadget here where I can toggle down, but because I'm working into a bowl, it won't do y'all any good at all to look at what I'm doing with my hands. I'm trying to read the thing. So. Oh, Stephen, I have been cutting and talking and doing stuff like this for so long. I mean, I'm not like super elegant at it, but I'm used to gauging where my fingers are, I guess. I don't know. I am also clumsy, so the fact that I don't cut myself all that often is kind of amazing. Really. But working from a tight area is something I'm still getting used to. There's something to be said for having everything all in one spot. I did a bit of preparing before we started the video, so I have most of my ingredients here with me, which is probably why, sorry Stephen, I'm not going to brine the pork because I have everything ready to go ahead and stuff it tonight, and then I don't have to worry about it in the morning. I have the Mad Genius Club in the morning, and then we are going to go up early so we can hit the storage container. So my boss gave me a table, and so let's see here. Let's toggle this so you can see what I've got here, which is these nice sliced apples. And I'm going to move this camera. There we go. Beautiful. So you can see what I'm going to do next, which is grab butter. This over here is getting rather brown. And I am going to I'm using a pumpkin pie spice because it's the same thing as apple pie spice. And I'm going to toss about 2 teaspoons of that with the apples. I don't want it to be too overpowering, so teaspoon and a half, call it. And then I'm grabbing brown sugar, because that is my preference. And I've got a 1/2 cup measure cup here. And I'm going to pack that up against the side of the thing so it's a little bit more than the 1/2 cup. I don't cook. I don't cook by measuring too much when I'm doing stuff like this. So I've just got these all nice and coated, and I'm going to go ahead and slide them off into my brown butter over here. You may or may not be able to hear it sizzling. Downside of talking to y'all while I'm doing this, and I'm going to toggle back to the, so you can see me. Oh, I can leave the camera there. Alright, that works nicely. Yeah, that's ready to go. So I've got apples, and I'm going to have to they're going to wind up kind of caramelizing and cooking down. And I'm also going to turn the heat down just a little bit from where it's at right now, because I want that to be a slow cook and not burn the sugars. Now, I managed to time that pretty well so that the butter was not burned, but it is nice and brown, which will give it some extra flavor for the Maillard.
Small container.
So my son has just processed basil leaves to freeze them, and you want to press out as much air as possible. There you go, kid. He's squishing the Ziploc.
I was asking for one of them in a smaller container.
Molasses is great for adding more flavor, and that's part of the reason I use brown sugar, because it adds a little of the molasses flavor, but not too much. And the molasses I have is really strong.
Made maple bacon cookies. 1 tablespoon of molasses. It's like taste.
Yeah, the molasses we have is really dark and really strong, so I have been using that when I want a lot of molasses flavor, but not necessarily using it in everything. Like, I wouldn't want it with these apples because it would take over. And you see me reaching up because I'm going after putting stuff away up there. So my son wants you to show me a couple of cookbooks as he bangs a cupboard. I'm sorry for that sound. So this is his latest acquisition, and he has a whole bunch of recipes lined up. He wants to cook out of this one. I gather that the Babish, the gentleman here, does a YouTube channel. I have not watched it, but it's one of my son's favorites. Move that over there. What else has he given me? Oh, he's given me his other favorite cookbook.
You haven't cooked out in forever.
So we haven't cooked out of this in quite a while. The thing about the Fallout cookbook is that it has it does not necessarily tax my spice cupboard, but the
No, it did. It did. The Nuka-Cola?
yeah, no, when we made the Nuka-Cola, we had to go buy stuff. But the Fallout cookbook has definitely earned my respect as the most esoteric ingredients of anything I've cooked out of in recent times. He's brought me a couple of other ones. The other one that I use, this is probably my go-to all the time, other than some of my vintage stuff, is Alton Brown's I'm Just Here for More Food. The first one covered a lot of meats and more basic prep. More Food is, if I would say, if you're going to get one of the two of them, and I think he's come out with more since then, and I have not collected them, and I'm not wearing this all the time. It's distracting me, let alone everybody else. But the other cookbook I don't use as much. This is the one of the two. I was gonna say, if I would say get one, it would be this one. This has his chocolate chip cookies, which are one of my favorites, and biscuits and a bunch of other stuff. I'm not even sure. I've got like spots where it's gonna fall open. Banana bread. It falls open to the banana bread.
Cookies.
But
the chocolate chip cookies.
yeah, we do the chocolate chip cookies a lot in here. But the nice thing about Alton Brown's is that they go through the science and techniques. So when we're doing a little bit more challenging culinary arts for homeschool this spring, this will probably be one of the things that I'm having him work out of. Along with, because his siblings gave him a waffle maker, we have Will It Waffle. Hail Krasnovia! So, show and tell over. I am going to start getting my prep finished for what I'm going to do here and stir my apples. And you can't see the apples currently. Koala, I like that idea. That would actually be fun. You could set up a website with a randomizer. Actually, there are sites like that where you can plug in what you have and it'll generate, like if you have a thing of chicken thighs and you have a package of dill and you have some cream cheese, if you plug that all in, then it'll come up with recipes for you. So sometimes that's a fun kind of thing to do. I tend to do that more by just sheer experience. So Tam wants to know how many and what languages I speak. I speak English and very, very little Spanish. Not well at all. I'm working on it. I work with some ladies that speak very little English, so I'm trying to learn at least enough to say disculpe as I go by them and get in their way. And buenos dias every morning. And I'm working on have a good weekend, because I think it's probably buenos fins de semana, but I'm not 100% sure. I do have someone I can ask, but I'm using Duolingo to study Spanish. Because I took Spanish in college. Do I remember any of it? I do not. I can read it better than I can speak it. So I have, for my stuffing experiment here, I have goat cheese. Actually, we're going to toggle back to the little camera. Boop. So I have goat cheese, and I have fresh dill.
It's off center.
Yeah, I moved it.
Yeah, but
So
it's
of course
center.
it's off center. And I have some roasted garlic. And what else am I putting in there? I thought I was going to put something else in there, but I don't remember what now. So we'll start with that.
You have those fresh herbs that you just bought in the fridge.
Yeah, that's what I've got. I've brought fresh chives, but the chives are actually to get chopped and then put into.
You have time?
the roast later. I have dried thyme. We do have fresh thyme. It's in the window box. I have rather strange twine to tie up the thing because they were out of butcher's twine at the store, and I can't find my butcher's twine that I should own, but then again I can't find a lot of stuff that I should own. Like an entire box of my sweaters seems to have gone missing. Alright. I'm still here. I'm just going to be off camera for a minute because I have a vacuum sealed bag of pork and I need to prep that. That's oregano, honey.
Do you want oregano?
I do not want oregano.
I think the
The
thyme's
mint
dead.
is in the window box, the square one. Or not the mint, the thyme is in
Yeah,
the
the
window
thyme
box.
is dead. It didn't get enough light. It's completely crisp.
The thyme died. I was afraid of that. We don't have enough window for all the plants, but we had to bring them in from the thing.
Oh, wait, no.
So I am rinsing pork and patting it dry. You'll get me back on camera eventually. For a spur of the moment thing, this was Johan, can you do me a favor since my hands are all porky now? Can you pick that up and set it up there? Thank you. And my PC is in battery backup mode. Could you please plug it in since we set it up and did not ever plug it in?
It's kind of fresh time behind you.
Okay. My son has gotten me some time.
It's mostly dead.
Oh, that'll work. Alright, so I'm going to butterfly this pork roast and get it ready to stuff. This is not like the most substantial pork roast I've ever worked with. Normally I would try and, I'm going to move things around here because I'm not happy with where I'm at. Normally I would do a little bit different with it, but... And now I'm going to stop talking because when I'm doing this much knife work, I kind of don't want to talk at the same time that I'm cutting. Because I like my fingers and I'd like them to all stay attached.
Say that as you don't stop talking.
Well, that's because my mouth is running on autopilot.
Got my fancy teas here from Montreal town.
My son normally wants nothing to do with my videos, right? And so today, when I'm in the kitchen, he is all about this. Okay. This is squishy goat cheese. That's fun. Not really. It's okay.
So I'm going to add a servo to it and make it so every time someone subscribes to your YouTube channel, it shoots a BB.
Ceramic knives, yes, Stephen. They're the ones that are within easy range of reach, and so that's what I'm using right now. Also, they are nice and sharp, so when I am working on butterflying, I've got, and yes, I am just getting all kinds of down and dirty with this pork and cheese right now. I actually don't want too much cheese because it will run out. It's going to get quite liquid during baking. And I'm not going to bind off the ends. I just basically want enough of this in here that it's going to... No, I'm not even being... Nothing close to elegant here. Elegant, ladylike, not me. Squishing out the cheese. So I've got a total of 8 ounces of goat cheese going into this. And this goat cheese is, I would say, almost like cream cheese texture, even softer maybe than cream cheese. So I'm just kind of squishing it into places where I want it to be. And then I'm going to turn away from the camera for a few minutes and wash my hands. I don't know how well you can hear me when I'm not facing the camera, so I am not talking while I'm doing it. The ceramic knives we get are actually fairly inexpensive ones. They do break, so they're not something that I'm inclined to spend a lot of money on. I'm stirring the apples, if you're wondering where I've wandered off to here. So I have, the last batch of ceramic knives I actually bought on Amazon as a set, and they're not very expensive whatsoever. So I did dill because I figured that's a nice German herb that I could snip up and put into this. I'm gonna kind of pull this apart a bit, and this is the remarkably, oh, there we go, there's a little fragrance going on with it. I was going to say it's a remarkably odorless dill. I don't like the looks of that one. Evidently down here, dill, when you try to grow it, gets infested with swallowtail caterpillars, which I don't mind. Swallowtails are lovely butterflies, but it does evidently make growing dill in Texas difficult, because you're going to have to grow enough to feed you and the caterpillars, and there will always magically be enough caterpillars to eat all of the dill. You need a cleaver. This is the one that my son gave me a while back. I actually probably should have used this for butterflying the thing. It's a very nice little... I have so used it. I just don't do butchering like I used to, so I haven't used it a lot.
I was advertised as hand forged.
Yes, he's telling me that that's a hand-forged cleaver that he bought for me for Christmas last year. And I'm just going to do lots and lots of herbs. Herbs are not juicy and runny, and dill is fairly mild flavored. So I am cutting out the stiff stems and tossing in the things that aren't going to make you feel like you're trying to eat sticks. And I have the roasted garlic too here. I'll get that in there here in a minute. For one thing, if I don't use all of this dill in this, I don't know what else I will use it in. So maybe a little bit left over to the side for garnish for the meal. I'm going to have chives to chop up and do that with too. When I prepped, I put a spoon out for the garlic. There it is. So, yeah, it is a really nice cleaver. He did a good job of picking that out. This is a roasted garlic puree in a jar that I picked up a while back, and we are just about to the end of the jar finally. I have made my own roasted garlic. I don't remember why exactly I bought this, but it is certainly handy, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use up what's left of the jar. My husband will be happy. One less condiment in the fridge, cluttering it up. He's still not quite sure what to do with me and the never-ending spices and condiments and all the things. There we go. Is the cleaver named June? Well, it wasn't before, but it can be now. So I have the apples are simmering away nicely. The pork has got goat cheese and dill and roasted garlic, and I'm not sure that I want to put anything else in here right now. I think I want to go ahead and roll this sucker up and tie it off. Let's see here if I can get the pieces of twine that I pre-cut somewhere where I can grab them. That's going to be interesting because it's not the usual twine that I use. So, and you'll note that I had put the bulk of the cheese where it's going to be on the inside of this as I'm rolling along here. There we go. Move the board. My workspace is a mess, but this is normal. At least for me, I don't know about y'all. A little piece of stray fat hanging off there. We don't need that, we can make that go away. Alright. Trying to minimize what I touch with my raw meat hands here. So that's why I had prepped my strings before. So I don't have to mess around with it too much. This is going to be interesting. This is a cotton crochet thread, and I am not sure it is going to be adequate to the task.
Need some ratchet straps?
I have broken more than one pair of kitchen shears. There's only one pair of kitchen shears that I never did break as a child, and I don't know what happened to them, and I have regrets. My dad sold Cutco. My dad sold Cutco briefly when I was a kid. Those were actually, for being a multi-level marketing pyramid scheme, they're actually pretty decent quality. And those kitchen shears withstood us kids doing some stuff we probably shouldn't have to them, so bonus. And I'm just I'm tying off, but I'm also looping around double because, well, I don't know about this thread here. It'll be interesting to cut this off tomorrow after it's been roasted. It'll be a well-wrapped pork loin. Kind of doing a cat's cradle on this pork. Oh, there's a flap under there. That's not going to work. My son's making noises over there, and I don't know what. Do you have the tea kettle going, bud? The cat was bothering me earlier, but she seems to have given up on me paying attention to her and gone away.
They can change that.
No, you don't have to, you know, Koala, if I thought that Cutco was still the same quality it used to be, I would absolutely buy a set. But I think my plan right now is to, so I have a nice little pork loin here, all wrapped up and ready to go. You can see it's all tied up on the bottom. And I am going to wash my hands again because they're sticky and I have a thing about that. But, yeah, unfortunately I think that, extra spaghetti noodles are always fun to feed to the baby. The apples are starting to really cook down. The liquid's gone down to a dull roar. I am going to wrap this up with lots of plastic wrap. We're going to toggle back to, hi there, so you can all see my face instead of me wrestling with the box of plastic wrap. I miss having the counter space for an industrial sized roll with a slide bar cutter. Man, that stuff was nice to deal with, much better than this crap in a box. Which I'm gonna wrestle with because it doesn't want to come out. And this, they've gone to plastic slide bars now. So I'm like, not only is it not going to cut me, but it's also not going to cut the plastic that I wanted to cut. So my goal with knives, Koala, is to get to a point where I can afford a nice set and I have children that won't destroy them, which my son is actually pretty responsible about these things. I have one really nice knife that I bartered with a friend. It's a handmade. Hey, Dad. But, Plastic wrap is a pyramid scheme. Yeah, Koala. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. Joshua, I would say you cannot quench a knife. I don't know, admittedly, a lot about forging, but I do know that bacon grease has a fairly low smoke point. So I think you'd wind up with burned bacon grease when you went to quench the knife into it. Alright. Wrap the heck out of this pork so it doesn't leak all over my fridge. Because it's going to sit in there tonight, let all those flavors meld, and then tomorrow it will, thank you, sir.
That's your computer.
Ah yes, my son has brought me his pride and joy. He now has this spiffy little,
Pick it up and spin.
yeah, pick it up and spin it. So spiffy little knife sharpening job that has medium, coarse, and fine. So
Mine is actually natural.
He's looking forward to sharpening all my knives, and I'm looking forward to him sharpening all my knives. Well, folks, we're about to the end of the hour, so I don't know if there was anything else that y'all wanted to know about that, but I am pleased because I have pork going that is ready to go tomorrow and get roasted, and the apples are simmering away over here with the water level dropping, and tomorrow those will get wrapped up in some puff pastry dough, which is thawing, and I'll probably brush that with a little beaten egg and maybe some coarse sugar. I think I've got some demerara sugar. Or I might not. I might leave it, because I'm cooking for adults. I tend to cook. I tend to cook less sweet for desserts for the gang up there, because we're not kids. We don't want the super sweet stuff anymore. So, Ben, congratulations on on wrapping your Christmas presents successfully, and I am laughing at Joshua with the live stream the roast cooking. No commentary, just point the camera at the oven. That sounds really, really boring. And also, I won't be here, so I won't probably have my I won't have my laptop with me. I don't usually haul the laptop with me. iPad yes, laptop no. Speaking of which, I still have to do art tonight, so when I get off of here with y'all, I've got to go take a look at the Rattle Saga and figure out which illustration comes next, which I think is, as a Kiwi, I'm going to have to get lessons from Law Dog and how to pronounce that, as a Kiwi and the Rattel meeting for the first time. I think my son wants me to do more cooking videos. That's. Sorry?
Yes, we are.
Oh, he's telling me we are going to do more cooking videos. Alrighty then. I was not aware of this. I'm not sure what to say.
Setup.
Yeah, no more Kim Kardashian. That was Camaldasian? Josh, that was odd. Although it was too funny to see Jim and Ian's reaction to that. And I might just put that illustration in the back of the book somewhere, but maybe not because it's a total in-joke that nobody's going to get. Yeah, so dinner tomorrow should be fun. Hopefully I have enough food for everybody. Yeah, no, I totally think my son should host some of the cooking videos. Yeah, he's giving me throat cutting motions back there. Yes, cooking with Cedar. I've done a couple of cooking videos. We tried to do,
One music.
oh, he says one. I
He
thought,
did one. The music was way too loud.
yeah,
due
the
to-
music was bad. We're not going to do
I'm
more
gonna do
music.
just not on my free software. I have nice
Okay,
music.
well, he's telling me there's going to be music, but he's doing it differently. So, as part of his homeschooling, he actually has two things that I've assigned to him for this spring. One is actually culinary arts, which he has taken a cooking class before, so this would be more of an advanced level, and it's going to be in conjunction with and in ways lab for his high school chemistry that he'll be taking this next semester. The other thing that he's been assigned is photography. So I'm going to teach him some basics of still photography, but he's also going to learn a little bit more about videography, and videography on the cheap, because I'm not buying him expensive equipment.
Yes, you are. You just don't know it yet.
Actually, I think that's an excellent idea. That he should totally take public speaking and to use that to do some cooking videos. So we already have the new websites. There are new websites soon.
Completely redoing them.
So
And
he wants to.
Cedar
He wants me to talk about the fact that he is hosting, because he has a server in his bedroom. He is hosting two websites: Sanderly Studios, which is our publishing studio and art house, and he's also hosting North Texas Troublemakers, which is the group for the whole gang.
I was trying to have you tell them about how we're going to be redoing your website and how we're adding a third one. Remember?
Oh, and I bought a domain name, and he's decided that it needs to have a website to go with it. So I own cedarlily.art. Cedar Lily is my art signature that I've used for years, because it's my first name is Cedar and my middle name is Lelania, so Cedar Lily. But I had bought the domain name cedarlily.art because it amused me and it was cheap, and it allowed me to set up a business email. So I have cedarlila at cedarlily.art. I know I didn't think that through, but that's my new business email that I can use for client contacts, so I don't lose stuff in my general email. And yeah, no, we have a lot going on this coming spring, and I totally think that the cooking videos can be part of his classwork, and it'll also be a good way for me to keep in touch with y'all, because I do enjoy the commentary and getting to talk to you all. And I think I missed my mom tonight, but she can always watch later. And yeah, so that is about it for tonight. I had a lot of fun doing this. I think there's a few things that I can change up to do better, because you can't see it, but I'm looking at a mess that I'm going to have to clean up before I can do anything else. And I need to stir the apples again. So I'll leave you with Sanford for a second.
Well, she's leaving you a thing. I'm so sorry. Yeah, somebody much more personal than me.
And on that note, yeah, don't pet the cat, she bites. Bye, y'all. Have a good night.
You stop streaming?